Hi guys, welcome back to Ardiis. Big roster updates going down last night, especially one that has been feared for some time, with Flor deciding to step back from Tier 1 competition and frankly competing in Valorant in general for the time being. One of the most talented players in the VCT EMEA so far, moving up from Game Changers of course into Apex for this season, has made it pretty clear over the last couple of months that Flor was not happy about the way that things were behind the scenes. Many issues about moving and other factors, let's say outside of the game, that have now contributed to this scenario. Where next from here? Will Flor return at some point? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. We're going to start here. Bleed Esports, man. What a team. What an organization. What a franchise. Of course, they're now long gone, but I think with the exception of Scary, everyone else from that team, Crazy Guy included, have found themselves onto VCT rosters. And this is now also true of Coach Legia. Legia, kind of a legend, been around the scene for a very long time, and he was on Bleed, and reportedly he will sign to FunPlus Phoenix. So we'll see if that goes anywhere, whether that comes to fruition. But yeah, it seems like Bleed Esports are going to do it again. Of course, Yay is still in the league. We know that their games are coming up in a few days' time. They play on the 2nd of May, so this upcoming weekend. That's G2EG, the deciding game, and pretty much all of these deciding games for Toronto occur at the same time around the different regions, but apart from EMEA, right, because EMEA is still delayed for the time being, but they will shortly be back, I will imagine. Maybe today or tomorrow there will be some update on what they're doing there. We'll discuss it more in a few minutes' time as well. Wanted to start here though with Loud. So Loud, they're blowing it up. We're not 100% sure what they're going to do, but we're pretty sure they're going to get rid of Vinny, they're going to get rid of Toys, and that's anyway the rumor of the last couple of days, that that's what they're going to do. They're going to get rid of their coach as well, so they're going to make some changes over there. Pancada is to stay, Luxo is set to stay, Cow and Zan's probably going to stay, DG Zan's probably going to stay, but look, I think Pancada and Luxo definitely not going to go anywhere. The other guys, probably Cow and Zan stays. DG Zan, I think maybe should, but it's kind of tough to say a little bit. So anyway, that's what they're thinking about right now. However, they have supposedly started conversations with a couple of different players. Now, Spike is one of them from 2G, and Sato is another one from M80, right? Of course, he's been a pretty good player for them so far, and has actually been one of the more promising players. So, of course, Loud are going to look for Brazilian talent. We know that MIBR have done a pretty, it was a pretty radical move on some level, signing Verno, and obviously it's worked spectacularly. They're going to be in Toronto guaranteed as it stands. So Louds, they may consider that route at some point, but for now they're going to try and keep it fully Brazilian, and the plan is going to be to reach out to these couple of players. Apparently, the organizations for Sato, as in M80, and Spike Zan from 2G, were reached out to by Loud, and neither have responded. So apparently M80 and 2G have refused to continue talks with Loud. The former did not even pass on Loud's interest to Sato, apparently. So until this report, Sato may not have known until this report came out that apparently Loud were interested in him, because M80 apparently is so convinced that, yeah, we're not selling him to you, what are you talking about, that not even entertaining the discussions. And it seems like there might be, a very high termination clause for Spike Zan to go over to Loud as well from 2G. So, yeah, seems like it wasn't clear. Even the organizations don't want to do it, and even if they did, they would then be required confirmation from the players. That's what they wanted to do as well. But apparently the two players themselves, because even if the organization wanted to do it and come to a deal, the players would then have to be convinced as well, and reportedly they don't want to join Loud right now. They feel like their current situation is better, which is kind of remarkable to think about compared to where their team currently is. So it will be interesting to see where Louds decide to go from here after a frankly disastrous split one of the VCT. The more roster drama though happening yesterday was in the Game Changer side with G2 Gozen, right? So G2 Gozen, best Game Changers team for some time, and of course they've made a couple of changes. Petra yesterday gone, or at least benched out of the team. So Petra's been the true OG of this scene, and yeah, she was moved to the benches of yesterday. Can't thank her enough for incredible achievements and the effortless effort, or the endless effort she put in. Gozen wouldn't have been the same without without her. So they get rid of Petra, and look, it's a very clear confirmation here from G2 that, yeah, Petra will be moved to the bench. It's not exactly a mutual decision. Petra then said, pain in my heart, I can look back on great memories, let's see what the future holds. And, Thibault, who's their team manager over there, describes how this is what happened. We made some improvements on different roles, felt like some new players could have some impact. Vanya would move to Spokes, Petra would move to Duelist, and then they kind of described that, Petra wouldn't join the trials because they basically wanted to do this. I mean, like, they said that they moved her to the bench. Now he is saying that, well, we had no guarantee Petra would be able to form on the Duelist because they want to do the roles, and then they're saying, okay, well, maybe Petra isn't the best option, and then Petra didn't want to really move forward with that, and, the idea of putting Petra on trials in general for that spot, people will consider it to be an injustice, especially after everything she's done for them over the years. But then he says, look, our job is to make sure the team performs at the highest level. But there is a general feeling from many of the fans that Petra's kind of been done dirty here in the circumstances. And of course, now she's benched and will shortly be removed from the team. I mean, they even literally said it in the tweet, in the replies. They were like, Petra will remain at G2 and there will be a proper farewell when she officially departs the org. So, but the way that they say, like, until she officially departs, it kind of sounds like she ain't coming back, right? Like, so that probably is what it is, really. They then confirmed that Akita will be the new duelist for the team, and in the circumstances, maybe this makes a fair degree of sense, and maybe their team can kick on from here and try and become what they once were on some level. But equally, I think for G2 Gozen, their recent results haven't been great, but they have made some, pretty substantial changes in recent times to their lineup. It definitely doesn't feel like the same team that many fans were supporting heavily. I thought this is pretty interesting, actually, from Juliana, who said, I rarely tweet about Valorant lately or even about my old G2 Gozen team, but ever since I left, the decisions made there is something that I would have never done. There is a reason why we were the best team in the world. There was balance in roles and in which player was brought into those roles. Petra is one of the most influential players I've ever played with in a team, and probably there are fair reasons for the change, but who knows? It's sad to see a team that I built for so many years break apart in this way. And she also retweeted this, which is effectively mentioning that original team of the players they once had, and that team is now very different to where we are today. But speaking of game changers, of course, Fluorescent, right, coming off that Shopify Rebellion team, going into the Pro League this year on Apex, and it's been killing it on Apex, like individually had such an impressive performance, but we've known now for some time that Flor was not happy with the way that things were, certainly moving to Berlin completely solo, no family, no friends, it's a very difficult environment, and, Apex have been, I think, very accommodating to the situation, but this is what was said officially last night. It's a heavy heart that we announced the following news. Fluorescent will retire for the remainder of the 2025 season. So they talk, a lot about Ava competing for a very young age, sacrificing teenage years to compete. Relocating to Berlin also created a bigger distance between her and her friends and family at home. Despite working closely with Ava to find solutions over the past couple of months, come to the mutual conclusion it's not right for Ava to continue to play. Sometimes life gets in the way of our competitive goals. That's part of the game. Built strong relationships with our players and staff during the time spent with us. Saddened to see her go. Hopefully, she'll see a benefit from the time off, right, and all this. So, yeah, of course, there was maybe some degree of criticism at the time, but it's a pretty sad state of affairs, right, that Flor, it's obviously really, really challenging, and Flor gave their own statement as well and said, gonna take the rest of the season off to rest and recharge, may return to competing again in the future. I mean, this is, it's tough, right? May return to competing again in the future, but that isn't something I'm putting much thought into right now. 2024 was a busy year, relocated to EMEA for boot camp, just days after GC Champs ended. The grind has been catching up with me, dealing with some personal stuff over the last couple of splits. Teammates have been very supportive. It's my decision, not their decision. Several other VCT teams have shown interest in buying out my contract these last couple of weeks, and Apex told me I could explore those options for Split 2 if it made me happy and continuing to allow me to compete. I'm sharing this because I want to ask the community and fans to avoid directly negative comments towards them. They prioritize my happiness and career in every decision they've made this year. The relocation to EMEA was very challenging, and I didn't always feel at home while in Germany, but I want to thank the management for doing my best. So, it's really tough. It is really tough to hear and to see this unfold because I think, unfortunately, it's been coming for some time. And look, Apex are terrible. Well, not terrible. Their team is awful. Okay, so maybe I am right. Look, as a franchise, I think they've done some good things, and it's nice that Flor said what Flor said on the matter. But even then, their team construction, like Flor was basically carrying them and they were never winning anything. So I understand why it's going to take a mental toll. The interesting thing for me, of course, is that, well, okay, Flor had apparently offers from other teams, and what other teams were those, and whether Flor would consider actually going to those teams in the near future is maybe not impossible. I think the question for many will become, okay, what happens next here? Because Flor intends to take the rest of the season off, rest up, recharge, probably will never intend to go back to Europe to compete there again in EMEA, and maybe that's fair enough. We know that it's got its problems, that region, as we have discussed in recent times. But if an offer was to arrive, let's say, from the Americas, then it might make a lot more sense. I think the question for some will be, okay, would that, like, what offers might that look like in the future, right? Because I think that Flor shouldn't have too many difficulties next year if she wants to return to actually go and play in the Americas for a team. I think offers potentially will be on the table. Not sure it's guaranteed that it's, would be of a top team, but it's an option that's out there. I don't think going back down to GC or to Challengers or something is really the play, but I guess we'll see. The other issue is, I guess, that some organizations might say, well, look, Flor went to join this VCT team, and after a couple of months, it wasn't working out, didn't want to continue anymore. Is that going to happen to us, right? So there would be, obviously doing this, there is some degree of concern maybe that a future team might think, well, let's be a little bit hesitant here. But, I thought it was nice the support getting from many other players, Derek and Boaster among others. But very much intrigued to your thoughts and all that in the comments below. Just wanted to close out here, speaking of the problems of EMEA, with a comment here from Ardiis, because we had Durka talk in replies to the tech issues in EMEA and some of the drama on that lately, and even, VCT Scrims went as far to look at the numbers, 4.5.2 of the game settings code for the game, and you'll actually find that, yes, it is an official rule that the FPS tracker has to be disabled, and which is pretty entertaining. The funny thing is that rule 2 of this list, nobody really cares about that. But very much enjoyed to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
Did you see Durka's post? Listen, what Durka's post was, all of these issues were an issue 3 years ago. When I was in NRG, okay, this is like what, no, even when franchise got made, yes, I was hearing about issues about gaming chairs. So before they used to have a transformer chair, they had terrible monitors. They had PCs that were all terrible. All these issues, you know what got fixed? The only fixed was a chair, bro. They fixed the chair, bro. They bought new chairs, bro. None of the actual fixes. That's why you see like Tarek, Tens, Dake, all these guys are going off on Twitter, bro, because we've been saying this for fucking years, bro. And you know what they say to you? This is what they say to you, bro. You go, oh, so Dave, the guy's Dave, bro. So you go, Dave, bro, Dave, I've got an issue with my PC, by the way, Dave. We've got an issue, we've got an issue that we're lagging on stage. There's low FPS. There's a lot of latency problems. A lot of wireless issues, by the way, on stage. They say to us, guys, I'm so grateful for your feedback. Thank you so much for your feedback. We really appreciate your feedback. We for the future, we'll take your feedback on board, and we will make do. We will fix this for the future. 4 years later, bro, still the same shit, bro. That's why you see everyone go public with it, bro. Bro, this is why I'm gonna call you out, bro. Because if no one calls you out publicly, you don't give a shit, bro. You genuinely, Riot don't care, bro. Riot don't give a shit, bro, if you don't call them out publicly, bro. If you keep it under the wraps, like behind the scene, bro, they don't yeah, we'll fix it in like a couple of years, bro. Then all of a sudden, that's why all the pro players are now snapping, bro. That's why all the pro players are snapping.